Hello, hello. Today we have Radio Waves by CXC Beauty. I don't, I'm not even sure what I'm going to call this video, but I need to just try and give as much as information as I can, so this might be a long one, because I feel like there's lots of parts and aspects I need to talk about with this one. Mainly, the first thing is that I bought this Radio Waves palette back in May of 2023. So this palette is almost 3 years old. It's been sitting in my makeup bag for the past almost 3 years, you could say 2.5 years. And it's because it's a almost pretty much fully yellow palette. Yellow is my favorite color. I absolutely love and adore yellow. And because it's my favorite color, I've kind of just been hoarding this palette because it's one of those things where I feel like, wow, this palette is so beautiful. I don't even want to touch it yet. It's so gorgeous. Like, I just want to hold on to it in pristine condition as long as I can. And I'd open it up every once in a while just to, admire it, and then I would put it away. And this was part of I'm pretty sure this was part of the first order I had ever put with CXC Beauty. So along with this palette, I also ordered the Vault of Olympus, which I absolutely love the Vault of Olympus. I think it's a very underrated CXC Beauty palette, and I absolutely recommend that palette. I actually have a review for that palette on my channel, and I think I may even have an unboxing for CXC Beauty, I don't remember, but that's all in there. So at this point, I reviewed the Vault of Olympus palette and I reviewed the Nomochrome Mini, and I both very much like those palettes. I didn't have any issues with those palettes. I've used other CXC Beauty palettes, and I've had no issues with those palettes either. It's important for me just to kind of set up the timeline, because I don't know if having kept this without using it may have affected my now outcome. And by that I mean, this year I decided, okay, I'm finally going to do it. I'm going to use it. I think I'm ready to use it. I really wanted to use it for my birthday. I was excited to open this up and use it for my birthday. So I finally opened up the palette, and you can see this is the color story on the back. There's no cover, there's no sleeve. It did come in kind of a box with a window. It was just an open window. There was no plastic, and you can just see the product through it, but I threw that away because it was just a black kind of see-through box, and it didn't even have like the CXC brand on it. So I ended up just throwing that away, and I think this might have also been covered in plastic, so I ripped that up and threw that away as well. So there's no other packaging for this, and this is also plastic. But I decided I really was excited and I wanted to wear this for my birthday in November. Like, this was going to be my birthday palette. And yellow is also the November color, citrine. So I'm like, I'm gonna tie it all with my birthday. And I opened this up, and some of the shades, which I had never seen before, were covered in small black spots, but it was only like on the sides. It wasn't so much like on the product. And first of all, honestly, my first inclination was just like, I felt in my heart it just had something to do with the pans and not the actual product. And I was just going to go ahead and use it anyway. But then I remembered a photo that traumatized me of someone who had decided to use molded eyeshadow and they got an eye infection. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to have an eye infection. So I reached out to the brand just to ask them. I don't think I was, I just reached out to the brand to ask, because I'm like, I don't know if these are still eye safe, because I felt like it had to do more with some sort of chemical reaction with these shades being in the pan, and a lot of the shades that ended up having these spots on the side were shimmer shades. I think pretty much all the matte shades were untouched. So I wrote to the brand and I let them know, like, hey, there's these spots in there. I'm not sure if it's mold or if it's a reaction to the pans touching the product. It's just on the sides. I'm like, I purchased this palette a while ago, but I had not touched it. Like, I hadn't even swatched it. It was completely untouched. I'm like, it's been sitting in my makeup cabinet in a makeup bag, just waiting to be used. And I'm like, I live in California now, so it's not either like, oh, we live in a very humid area. Like, our weather is not like that. I'm like, I just wanted to know if it's eye safe or if there's a way that I can fix it. And I'm like, and if it is mold, I'm like, can I order just the shades for a replacement? Because, like, I knew time had passed, you all. It's been almost, like I said, it was almost 3 years later. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you need to replace these shades for free. I just really was like, let me buy the shades to replace them if it is mold. Because since it is a magnetic palette, they've sent me single shades before. Like sometimes I'll get the product and through shipping, some of the shades end up broken. And they're always been so incredibly kind enough to just send me the shades themselves to replace them for free at their cost, and it's always been incredibly nice. They've always been very I almost get an immediate response every time. They're just, I don't, what's the word? It's not like vocal. They're very good at communicating. They're good communicators. And so I'd ask them, you know, like, here's the name of all the shades. I have this. I'm like, I attached some photos. I'm like, I was so excited to use this for my birthday week, but now I'm not sure if I can. And they did reply back to my questions that I had sent. And they had said, like, thank you for reaching out and sending over the photos. And they just let me know, like, we're so sorry that this is so disappointing. But they let me know that if you do see any of those black spots on the sides of the pans, it is completely safe. It is not mold. And I'll read specifically what they said. They said, because of some formulas include our skin-benefiting ingredients like glycerine, certain pans can develop light oxidation marks where the metal touches the product, especially after sitting unused for a while. It doesn't affect performance or safety at all. So that is what I thought it was. I'm like, I feel like this is just some sort of oxidation. They confirmed it was some oxidation, but they were so incredibly kind because they said they said, we always want you to feel confident and excited when using your palette. So they sent me replacement shades for every shade that I mentioned for free at no cost 2 years later. That is so incredibly kind, and that's why that's also partly why, like, I want to just mention everything, because there are certain shades in here that I personally just did not like. But I want to talk about my experience with CXC Beauty, because even though I feel like this palette did not work for me and I was so excited for this palette, I just wanted to give this palette so much praise because I do love this brand, and I've used other palettes, other lipstick products, blushes. I've used so many products from them, and I like their lip glosses and all that stuff, and I'm just sad that this kind of felt short for me. But like I said, I wanted to mention, like, I bought this palette almost 3 years ago. This palette doesn't even look like this anymore. They don't even have this cover anymore. It's completely changed, and that makes me wonder if the formula has also probably been updated, and if it's sitting for so long not being used possibly changed the formula. Because, I mean, I guess let's start getting into it. A lot of the matte shades in here are a little too dry and powdery for me. But again, I'm like, is this the way it was? Is this the way it's always been? Or is it because it's been sitting for so long unused? Because I've tried, like I said, other CXC Beauty palettes, these big ones, these nice big ones, and they're not like that at all. Like, this just feels like a completely different formula. But I also know yellow, from what I understand, from what I hear from people who actually have a brand, yellows and purples are very difficult to make. So this might just be like their beginning kind of formula, and they may have already updated the formula since I bought this. I don't know. I just wanted to give that explanation. I know it's a super long explanation, but I also wanted to just, since I had contacted CXC Beauty, I wanted to talk about that interaction. They're incredibly sweet. They're also always very responsive. You can talk to them on Twitter as well with any questions. They're very active and involved with their brand. So I wanted to give my props out to CXC Beauty first. All that being said, you know, I want to talk about my experience with this palette, honestly. And I was so excited. Look at all these yellows. This is like the ultimate yellow palette. Nobody has done yellow justice in a color story like this before. And I was so excited, and that's why I'm just like so bummed out that a lot of these shades just did not work for me. Some of the shades, it's just color preference. I just don't think it looks particularly good on my skin tone. But as you can see here, like, I replaced, you won't see any of those black spots in here because I have replaced those shades, which, by the way, not only did they replace, I think it was like 8 shades I asked them if I could get replacements for. They also sent me like 3 extras, which is, again, incredibly kind. So I asked for 8. They sent me like 11 new shades to put into my palette. And a lot of them are like these shimmer shades here on this side, the lighter shades. Because you can tell, obviously, there's black specks in the lighter shades more clearly than you can on the other shades. And I think I'm going to talk while I swatch because I'm pretty sure I'm not keeping this palette. However, there are some shades in here that I did quite like. And there is a mirror in here. That's why you're going to see this covered here. There's a nice big mirror on the other side. I'm going to keep it covered. Wow. Okay, let's start off with some of let's put that there for now, some of the lighter shades in here. I don't know if it can sit, nope, I don't want to break it. It can't sit completely flat. It can almost sit completely flat, but no. Okay, so we have like these lighter shades over here, and it obviously goes darker. One of the issues that I had, this isn't an issue, this is just a color preference. These lighter shades don't look very good on me. They don't look very good on my skin tone, and the colors are a little powdery, and it looks a lot better on my hand, but on my eye, because I have, I guess you could say, discoloration on my face, like around my eyes is darker than the rest of my face, so I have to put down like concealer to kind of balance out my face, and this just doesn't look too good, and it looks a little bizarre on my skin tone, so it's not my favorite. So that's just absolutely to do with color. But one of my big main issues is these browns. The browns in this palette are just not pigmented enough for me. I felt like they kept getting lost in the shadows, like these other shadows. I need more darker colors. These feel too light for me. These all kind of blended into my skin tone. This is kind of the only color that really appeared, and it's the darkest shade in here. And it was much more of a smoky effect than it was anything else. Like that kind of blends into my skin. Oh, you can't even see that one. And then here you have this dark one. See, this dark brown here smoked out pretty well, but these other three were just not enough. I guess I needed way more depth. When you have yellows, the yellow is already the lighter color, so you need a lot more darker color to like really create that effect of that darkness at the outer corners. So that's something that I did not like. I didn't like that there wasn't enough darker browns in here for me. This one worked quite well to deepen that outer corner. I think I'll swatch that last though. There's a lot of different types of formulas for the shimmers, and I think the best shimmer in here was the metallics. I think the metallics picked up on a brush very well. I think they worked very well on the eye, but then there's other shades that are a lot more flaky and clumpy that didn't really wow me. So we have, like, I really liked these two shades. At first I didn't really like them, but I saw the vision once I applied the eyeliner, and once I applied the eyeliner I'm like, okay, this is a look. So this feels very soft, and it's, you can see, quite crumbly even still, like there's crumbles coming down. And then here you can see there's some slight staining, and this is one of the newer shades. Doesn't change the color, but I'm just gonna go over that. Oh, I'm getting stuff everywhere. But here's those two shades. I did quite like, I want you to be able to see the shades using these. I think these two might be some of my favorite ones in the palette, because you can see they're not very, they're a lot more subtle. They're not like that crazy bright or crazy anything. They're very subtle. Also have, let's see, this one is also quite weird. It's, can you see? Like it's like separated. Let me stop moving my finger for a bit. Like the flakes are all separated, and it's quite strange. And that's the way it looks on the eye as well, and this doesn't really have, I had to really work to try and get this on the eye with a brush, and especially the other ones as well. And I have to talk about the elephant in the room. I don't know why, especially when I think this is, let's see, Celestial Waves. Let's see if this is one of the ones. No, this is not one of the ones. So this is not one of the ones that this is one of the original shades, I think. Let's see, Illuminati. So this is Recharge. Recharge, did I ask for Recharge? I did. This is one of the new shades. I don't know why. I don't know what the formula is in this shade, but I put this shade on yesterday, and it immediately started to burn my eye. Immediately. I thought maybe I could wait through it, but I could not. I ended up washing it off right after I applied it. It's like the sensation of like burning and like numbing. I don't know what that was. I didn't have that feeling on any other shade, but this shade, Recharge, for some reason I did, and I was, again, very sad, because I quite liked the color when I applied it. It's this beautiful, like, bright, like dandelion yellow, and I thought it was so pretty, and I'm like, ooh, I could do something with this. And then it started to burn. So I don't know if maybe there's like too much pigment or something, because I know that for like very pigmented shades you can get a burning sensation, but it doesn't seem like overly pigmented. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that experience, but I didn't have any other issue with the shades in the rest of the palette. In fact, I think my favorite part of the palette is probably within these two rows here in the middle, so it makes sense. Not too light. I don't want to say not too dark because I didn't really like these brown shades. This brown shade worked for me very well, but I needed more brown, dark brown shades for my skin tone, I feel. I absolutely loved, I think my favorite matte shades in here was this yellow and this yellow. And because I love a mustard shade. I love these mustard shades. This one's a little bit more pumpkin. This one's a little bit brighter, but they're kind of within that same kind of tone. And I think both of these worked very well. I think both of these look so pretty on my skin tone. Yes, see, I feel like those swatches look a lot better on my skin than the other ones. I think that's so pretty. And then same with the shimmers. This one I'm wearing today. And if you can see, it's like a little clumpy, a little bit rolled up. Like it's not completely smooth. The formula is a little bit scattered, is the best way I could describe it. This is on my eye today, but it's not crazy. These are all very toned down, and I wanted crazy bright. The shades that I did like, these two right here. These two right here are metallics, and I think they both swatched with the brush very nicely. I think they both work very well. This is what I also have on my other eye, because I do one look per eye. And I have this one on my other eye, and I liked the way these swatched, even touching them. Completely different formula, completely different experience. These feel so nice. I'm gonna swatch them over here. It feels so nice. See, these feel nice and buttery, which by the way, this one is like a duochrome. Look at that swatch. That is beautiful. Look at these two swatches. Those are my favorite shades in this palette. Look at that. Let me see if I can get some light over here on this side, because those are my two favorite shimmer shades in this palette. Look at that stretch of this duochrome. See, I think that if they had done this palette completely in metallics, this would have been a win. I would have really loved, I would have just kept it for the beautiful metallics. But because there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, those feel too light. The browns in here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these browns, this brown feels too light. This one, I'm gonna swatch this one by itself because I couldn't really figure out what it looked like on my eye, and it's another like super crumbly one. It's like a light chocolate with a like purple blue shimmer, and I think that's a very interesting color. I wish I could see more of it. Let's swatch it over here. Oh, it's too light. It needs way more purple shimmer. It's too light. That's why I couldn't see it on my eye. I was trying to make my eye pop with this brown shade over here, but it's basically almost my skin tone. Yeah, that's not going to work either. Man. See, this is why I'm so like heartbroken. There's like only a couple shades in here I would keep. I want to swatch this one just to see what it looks like on its own, and I'm going to swatch this black. Another almost crumbly charcoal kind of color that we have there. Let's see where I can put these. Maybe here. It's more like a smoky charcoal. No, it doesn't look too pretty to me. So that black isn't too bad. It's like a very charcoaly color. It can be blended out very well. I do like that about that, but I wish the rest of the mattes were as pigmented as I would have liked them to be. So if I was going to keep any shades from this palette, I would be keeping probably, I think I could deal with these two. Oh my goodness. These two lighter shades. So 1, 2. Now I would keep 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think those are all my favorite shades. I think those are the ones that work the best for me. So let's see, 6. So the rest of the palette just doesn't really work for me, and that's, I think, very heartbreaking for me. I think maybe if all the mattes were a lot more intense, I could forgive the way might make me look a little crazy. I'm like, you know what, I'll be a little crazy. But they're a lot more powdery. The shimmer shades are, I don't want to say they're inconsistent, but if they had the same kind of feeling that these two metallics do here, I would have kept them as well, regardless of like the color story, or maybe the way the colors look on my skin tone. Like, I would have kept it. I think that if these felt a little better on my fingers, looked a little better on my eyes, I'd be keeping this complete palette. But I feel like this is going to end up being a better palette in a friend's beauty bag, since she's an MUA, and maybe she can work with these a little better. But I'm not going to say this is a pass for me, because I feel in my heart, if I repurchase this under the new like box with a more recent formula that they just put together, I may prefer it. I feel like this might just be an older formula they might not even be making anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like, they definitely every year are getting better. This old palette, which they don't even sell anymore, I'm sure, I mean, that's going to be a pass for me. But I would not be surprised if you see me reviewing this same palette, Color Story, from CXC Beauty in a year. Like, I do really want this palette to work, and I do like this. I love yellow. I love the yellow Color Story, and I was so excited, and there's nothing like this on the market. I've been saying this a lot recently because it's been on my mind recently, but you can't confuse this palette with any other palette. This is a CXC Beauty palette, and I think it is so pretty for the Color Story. I think it's a good try, but as you can see from the swatches, it's a little weak. It's a little weak. I can definitely see them doing a lot better, but maybe you don't want incredibly strong shades. I don't know. But like I said, I don't know what the formula looks like today. You might like this Color Story because they're not terribly like pigmented yellows, and they're more like almost like watercolor shades is what I always describe them as. They're a little sheer, but the color's still there. And for some people that makes it a lot less scary, and they'll be more willing to try the product. But for me, who's like, I love doing full glam, full color, I'm gonna have to let this go. I know this was a really long review, but thank you so much for watching. I'm definitely going to be continuing buying from CXC Beauty. I've had some of their palettes in my cart for a while now, but I'm just waiting for a really good paycheck to pick this up, because these are some pricier palettes. I think this palette at the time when I bought it was $59. I don't know if the price on that has gone up because of like tariffs and all that, but this is a pricier palette. So, you know, for a pricier palette, I'm also expecting some really amazing things. But let me know down below what your thoughts are. I love a yellow palette. Y'all have a great day.